SVG wins, Bubba and Bowman tangle, and Joey Logano has, some words for Ross Chastain. So let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, SVG gets his second win on the season. Again, it is on a road course or a street course this time. It is also his second win in Chicago on the street course. 3 wins all time in his career in only 33 races. That is a 9% winning average as far as races go, and that is pretty insane right now. We'll see if he'll be able to continue that throughout his career. Of course, is a road course ace and is getting better on the ovals, although he needs a lot more improvement on the ovals, but the progress is being made there. But anyway, that win puts him at 105 all-time on the NASCAR wins list, tying him with AJ Allmendinger, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones, and Austin Cindric. So, already 33 races into his career, about to crack the top 100 all-time in NASCAR wins. If he can get another one, and as good as he is on road courses, I would bet on that. And really, as far as the race itself goes, not too much to say about it because he put on a masterclass at the front of the field, absolutely wearing them out, dominating this race from basically start to finish. The other Cup Series drivers are going to have to step their game up to unthrone the undisputed road course king as it stands right now. But just because there wasn't a whole lot of high drama at the front of the field doesn't mean that throughout the back of the field there wasn't some high drama, including early on in this race with Carson Hosvar. Carson Hosvar qualified really well. Carson Hosvar drives really aggressively. However, sometimes it comes to bite him, and it has bit him more times this season than it has essentially helped him, because this time, when he took himself out, he didn't just take himself out, he took a good pile of cars out with him, including Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Todd Gilliland. Daniel Suarez was in that wreck, even though he was able to continue. But there were a ton of cars involved in that wreck that were not able to continue, some of them at the cut line, and some of them not. But either way, it didn't make a whole lot of friends. I think Austin Dillon had some spicy comments to say about it after the fact as well. I think he called him the biggest idiot in the sport or something to that effect, if I remember correctly. But either way, Carson Hosvar out here making friends once again. But I don't think, honestly, Carson Hosvar really cares about that. He's not out there to make friends. I think he's out there to win races. He was probably more disappointed with himself after wrecking there than anything else. But we started off with the big one. But that wasn't the only controversy and the only drama in this one, because this was a tight racetrack. It actually sort of resembled, as far as tempers and attitudes go, a short track race, because there were 2 other incidents that we need to talk about. The second one, which has gotten a lot of press and a lot of coverage, was Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace. Immediately after the race, Alex Bowman was defending himself because he thought Bubba Wallace was actually going to be mad about him. Later on today, we found out that Alex Bowman, in fact, got some information later when he talked to Bubba Wallace, that Bubba Wallace basically said, you know, I hooked myself, I cut you off because I thought you were trying to cross me over. So at the end of the day, even though this initially looked like it was beef, because Alex Bowman did say, I thought we had our beef behind us, but I guess I was wrong. Later on, when he actually talked to Bubba Wallace, apparently Bubba Wallace said, you know what, I cut you off because I thought you were crossing over. Basically a self-clear on a blind corner where no spotters were at. So as much controversy and as much press as this got, it looks like at the end of the day, it was just a racing incident, and these 2 both are probably going to move on from it. That being said, however, they were both on the cut line, and it really didn't help Bubba Wallace here. We'll get to the points here in just a minute, though. Because Joey Logano and Ross Chastain actually had an even bigger conflict, and these 2 guys actually have the drama and actually are beefing with each other, or at least Joey Logano is beefing with Ross Chastain. In fact, Logano saying that Ross Chastain wrecked him on purpose and should be suspended. This here from Steve Letarte, Ross Chastain versus Joey Logano. Ross admitted to wrecking him on purpose. Joey thinks he should be fined for it. Either way, it was stubborn versus stubborn on the racetrack. And if you look at Joey Logano's in-car conversation, he basically was saying Ross got the wrong guy, because the person that actually caused all of this contact was in fact Joey Logano's teammate Austin Cindric, who got to the inside and bumped it up, and that's where Joey Logano pushed Ross Chastain into Joey Logano, at least in Joey Logano's opinion. So going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, because as Steve Letarte said right there, both of these guys are super stubborn. Neither one of these guys seem like a guy that will back down, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out throughout the rest of the weekend. Honestly, though, I don't think anybody's going to get suspended, but, you know, will they pay each other back on the racetrack itself? That remains to be seen, because I don't think either guy also is afraid to do that. However, to set up all of this controversy and to set up all of this drama was an interesting situation where NASCAR had to throw a caution and let an ambulance cross the racetrack to assist a fan. Now, that was the right call. I'm not, going to say anything bad about that other than this. It seems like in the future, maybe NASCAR can have a better plan to where you don't have to stop a street race to get an ambulance to a fan that needs help. Maybe have, more EMS services on hand available. But either way, they made the right call to get the assistance to the fan. But maybe in the future, now that this has happened, have some more EMS people at the ready on the outside of the track in case another emergency with a fan happens, so that you don't have to stop the race. So that one NASCAR can definitely plan for and get better in the future. The other thing that NASCAR can plan for and get better in the future is how fast they throw a caution on a street course. 2 times in this race, NASCAR sat on the yellow flag for an egregiously long period of time. The first time in this race is when Josh Berry wrecked, and it took over a minute and a half to get some service, or to get the caution flag out to assist Josh Berry, who had wrecked and was sitting there on the track. That was way too long. And another instance toward the end of this race was when Cody Ware lost brakes in the actual caution that ended this race and shot into the tire barrier. A violent impact, if you've seen, the replays on Twitter and YouTube. Very violent hit, and it took NASCAR well over the allotted amount of time that it should have took them to throw the yellow flag for Cody Ware there. In fact, Cody Ware had to get out of his car, and that is the reason that NASCAR threw the caution, because that is a high-speed area of the track. Everything about that was dangerous, so NASCAR definitely needs to clean that up going forward in the future. Other than that, really not a whole lot more to say about this race other than to, get to the top 10. So this concludes the TMZ portion of this particular video. Let's get to the top 10 and the points. SVG, of course, wins the race. Ty Gibbs finishing in second place. A big momentum boost for him. And as slow as he started the season, Ty Gibbs is now on a heater. He has finished well in several of the last few races. Tyler Reddick, big race for him. Had the Jordan brand on the car. Ends up in third place. Had a lot of speed throughout this race. Denny Hamlin, kind of out of nowhere, finishes in fourth place. Of course, didn't get the qualifying lap in. And then Kyle Busch. I want to talk about him for a second. Kyle Busch in the Slurpee RCR number 8 car had speed all weekend, very fast car, and spun himself out, had a spin out late in this race, but I want to give him credit here, did not give up, kept his head in the game because he knew he had speed in this car and didn't get down on himself. He didn't let that team down. He got right back in this thing at the very end. In fact, the incident between Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace actually helped him get around to get this 5th place finish. But what looked like it was going to end up being a bad day with speed once again for the 8 team ended up being a good day, and he got the finish that he deserved in this one, as opposed to some other times we've seen when he's had some speed and has had some bad luck. Had some bad luck today, but overcame it, and hopefully this can springboard that 8 car forward going into it points-wise. Let's look at the rest of this top 10, though. AJ Allmendinger with a good run for the number 16 Colleague Celsius Chevrolet. Ryan Preece here in 7th. Alex Bowman ends up in 8th after that contact. Austin Hill for RCR also had speed, so the RCR cars looks like a little assistance there from Will Brown and Colleague. RCR and Colleague, the one welcome, had a lot of speed today, and then Ross Chastain with the incident with, of course, Joey Logano. He ends up in 10th. Rest of your top 15 is going to be Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Larson, Zane Smith, and then John Hunter Nemechek. So that was a good race. Good race for RCR. They had speed. One of the RCR cars, however, that didn't get the finish they wanted, of course, was this 3 car here of Austin Dillon, who was caught up in that Carson Hosvar wreck. So let's look at who had a bad race, and we're just going to focus on that Carson Hosvar incident, because that was the vast majority of them. Carson Hosvar, of course, had speed. Austin Dillon also had speed. Needed a good finish. Didn't get it here. And then you got Brad Keselowski, who was caught up in it. Had speed. This would have probably been a good track for him to maybe steal another win. Todd Gilliland, of course, caught up in it. Will Brown, who had speed, was not able to show it. And then let's talk about William Byron here. It's going to be very important here that William Byron finished dead last. He had that wreck in practice, didn't turn a qualifying lap, and couldn't complete too many laps in this race before he had to park it, take it to the garage, and they couldn't get the thing fixed to get it back out there. If he had made a few more laps, he would have picked up several positions after that Carson Hosvar wreck, but they couldn't get that out there, couldn't get that done, unfortunately. And that dead last finish took a nice, sizable, comfortable regular season points lead, where that regular season bonus points would have definitely helped him in the playoffs, and now it has tightened it up quite a bit. So let's take a look at the playoff not the playoff, but the regular season points as it stands now. Can't talk today. I don't know what's up. William Byron now only 13 points ahead of Chase Elliott, who is in second, who everybody swore to God was having a bad season until he won his race. Kyle Larson here in third place, only 19 points behind. 43 points behind now, only for Denny Hamlin, who has missed a race, by the way, so crazy enough, still in the hunt there. 48 points behind for Tyler Reddick, and then Seabell, 67, and 93 for Ryan Blaney, so everybody else more than 100 points behind. But it was a three-man race here because Denny Hamlin was kind of out of it, but with that last place finish, William Byron has opened the door back up for several other competitors to get this regular season title, so that's going to be a big deal going forward because, of course, of those bonus points. All right, that's the regular season, but let's take a look at what the playoffs look like if the playoffs were to start today. And here you go from a TNT on the broadcast there. Kyle Larson with 3 wins would be leading the way. Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell also going to be right there with him, but I think Kyle Larson's edging him out on bonus points overall. Then you got SVG, who is now going to be sitting in 4th place with his 2 wins on the season. And then you've got the rest of the field there. William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, Josh Berry, Chase Elliott, and Ross Chastain all locked into the playoffs right now. So that leaves 4 spots here on the cut line. Plus 142 is Tyler Reddick, so he's sitting good right now as long as, 4 more drivers that aren't him win a race. Then you got Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, and Bubba Wallace there. Plus 3 on the cut line as it stands right now. But even at plus 3, you can't feel comfortable on the cut line because if you look at all of these drivers below him, Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, AJ Allmendinger, Ryan Preece, any of those drivers are capable of winning a race. And not to mention that, but other drivers throughout that field, like a Brad Keselowski, definitely capable drivers of winning a race. So nobody on that cut line can definitely feel comfortable until they get a win. So the points on both sides, regular season and the playoffs cut line, are definitely getting very interesting here after Chicago. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for hanging out this long, and I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, peace.